Are you a CEO, a business owner, or founder who has found themselves reliant on third party platforms to grow their business, such as social media or Google, in this modern digital age? And if that is yes, as it is for most businesses today, then we realize that our client acquisition, customer acquisition can feel at times like our business is at risk. One of our clients who joined us in about May of this year, about 6 months prior, was getting about 15 to 17,000, 20,000 visitors per month to their website. And Google made a critical update in the search engine algorithm, and he lost eventually almost all of his traffic. I've seen just recently one of my clients who owns a winery in California have their Facebook platform, their Facebook page profile that had been just doing phenomenal, shut down for no reason. Today, I want to tell you, and you know this inherently, but we don't own these social media platforms, and we certainly don't own what happens on Google. And so we've got to be mindful about how we build our businesses on platforms like Instagram and TikTok and Google. It really can be dangerous. It almost feels like it's forced continuity in that we don't have many other options as we continue to evolve technologically. Well, let me tell you, if you recognize that there is this sort of ticking time bomb sitting in the back and it's bothering you and you're wondering what you can do and how you can be certain about everything that you're working on to continue to grow, market, grow, and scale your business, then I want you to listen in to this particular module from our AI marketing makeover class, where we tie in the importance of diversifying your assets, your digital assets, in a way so that you can leverage your website, leverage your email list, and build a more resilient business strategy. And of course, we are teaching our group at the MindShift Inner Circle all about how to do that less costly, should I say, less expensive, because we're now really integrating AI. So today I'm going to take you behind the scenes inside the MindShift Inner Circle into our AI marketing makeover event. It's an on-demand event that if you would like to get the full event, you can certainly click the link below in the description wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. We'd love to have you in there. You can go join that class for free. I hope you enjoy today's episode. Step 2 in the process. And by the way, you can substitute the word website if you're predominantly a social media company. If you do a lot of stuff on social, I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs today that they're not as website friendly. I think it's a mistake. I actually just said this on a podcast the other day. Your website is one of the only 2 major digital assets you ever will own online. None of us own social media profiles, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. We don't own any of those platforms. Therefore, building a business solely there, I still think to this day, and I think for the foreseeable future, is a risk, especially looking at all of the business models around TikTok and YouTube. In fact, if you look at their business models are all based on ads. So anyone who wants to just build their business on social, have more power to you. It's not how we roll at the agency. We always, always, always focus on getting people aggregated using social media, but getting them over into our world. Number 1, on our website. Number 2, on an email list, which we'll talk about here on step 3. Okay, so when we think about driving traffic to the website, the number 1 thing we're trying to solve is how are we going to get found out here on the worldwide interwebs, right? Whether that's social media, local search, Google Maps, etc. What are we going to use? Are we going to use Google Ads? Are we going to write content and try to rank on the first page of Google? Are we going to post organically or run paid media? Full disclosure, at our agency, we have largely been an organic search engine company, an organic SEO company, and we tied that with all of the things necessary. If you were a local business, of course, the local maps, and we'd always been a Google advertising agency. We still believe in both of those mechanisms, but we do not believe that you can do one without the other. There is no such thing today, in my opinion, with the way Google's changing things, and now with a ChatGPT/AI world, I just don't believe doing just SEO is going to work anymore. If you even look at the first page of Google, that has changed. Anybody who looks at the first page of Google today, you're going to see 3, 4, maybe 5 ads at the top. You're going to then see perhaps people also ask. You might see an organic listing. If you're local, you're then going to see a map. And maybe finally down 3/4 of the page, you might find the first organic listing. That's going to depend on where you're looking and what you're searching for. But the organic landscape has changed. So there is a combination, or what we call blended search strategy, whereby you're using ads plus organic optimization. But you also might be doing Facebook and Instagram and Twitter or X or YouTube ads. But we're at our agency, we drive paid media to acquisition. That's our primary job today. We don't really spend, we actually talk people out of SEO if they don't have a very seasoned and holistic marketing strategy. SEO is no longer what it used to be. It is still valuable. Don't get me wrong. We just moved it to the back of the line. Okay. These are some of the things that you have to think about. So when it comes to strategy around some of these, and you may not have an agency in your corner who can do all the strategy and the planning and the thinking and the analysis and the competition evaluation and what should we do, what shouldn't we do, there are some areas that ChatGPT can help you with. So let's go look at those. By the way, let's just take a quick poll. Let's just take a quick poll. In the chat, if your business is seasoned and active and already is acquiring customers, what is the number one channel that you get your customers from? Where do people find your business the most? In the chat, just say, social media, say ads, say Google. Just give us a general idea where everyone's getting their customers from. So Lauren says LinkedIn, great. Cami says networking and referrals, fantastic. Heather, social media or Google, great. I know Heather and I did some work maybe a year and a half ago. I don't know how long it's been, but hopefully that's still going well. Lennox says referrals and networking, great. Few more. Referrals and networking. I know Cami and I talked about expanding her business outside of just networking referrals. But anyway, keep chiming in if you'd like to. But let's go ahead and think about Michael, referrals and networking. Of course, Michael and I did some. Michael is in Vegas. In Vegas, regardless of what's happening with this market. If you need anything in the mortgage industry in Vegas, Michael Rodriguez is the guy. Michael and I had a chance to work together when right after I owned my mortgage company. But back in those days, we met each other back in 2005, 6, 7, something in that neighborhood. And I was in the industry for 12 years, real estate 17 combined before we switched into the marketing area. And I'd never met another person in 17 years combined in those two spaces that I saw eye to eye with than my brother, Michael Rodriguez. So Michael, just want to shout you out real quick. So let's talk about a few things that we can think about. And I think this could be very helpful for those of you that are not already doing a lot aggressively with Google or social media or paid advertising, things like that. There are some real unlocks around what you can do with ChatGPT that can take you from, I don't know exactly how to write a good Facebook ad. I don't know how to write a good Google ad. I don't know how to write a strong, blog post or things of that nature that you're going to be able to find. So let's talk about a couple of exercises and jump in. One of the first ones, if you are interested in improving your organic presence on Google specifically, because let's be clear, while Google's business model is 80% driven by ads, if they have no one coming to the search engine, there is no ads to deploy. Are you guys with me? So they are in a very interesting predicament because if their ads are going to keep working, they have to keep making their search engine desirable. So I think we might see some of the most innovation from Google because they've had no threat. They've had no threat. And I'm not saying the threat is Bing, because Bing has long since, no one's ever said, let me Bing that, right? Like, it's the last time you heard somebody say, let me Bing that, you know what I mean? So Google is still the number one search engine. Their innovation around how they stay relevant around all things ChatGPT and around all things AI will be very interesting. But let's say, for the sake of this example, you are thinking about potential keywords around which you would write content to rank organically in Google search. It's one of the big top requests we get at the agency. And again, while I say that we don't like to put SEO in the front if the company is just getting started with online marketing, we don't. But when a company is very seasoned, like my meeting this afternoon, we are very heavily talking about SEO still. So Here's an example. You start by listing out some products or keywords in your mind, or products or services that you would like to sell. Don't put multiple products in under this request. So take one product or service at a time. And then you can start with a very simple prompt that says, what are the trending keywords for service or product in 2024? And again, you're kind of future pacing. I'm actually not so sure 2024 would be a good add-on here. I might have jumped ahead of myself here because ChatGPT doesn't have data on 2024. But what you can say is you can use the word trending, most popular, those kinds of things. And you can simplify it with that search, or you could get a little bit deeper and add a problem. So you could say, what are the trending keywords for this problem for a customer who is this or that, or lives in this region, or whatever that might be. So you can spice that up any way you'd like to. Competitive analysis. One of the things that's really interesting, and that I don't see a lot of people do, they don't spend as much time, and that is, well, there's two caveats. A, I don't see a lot of people doing enough competitive research on their competitors who are gaining traction in an area they'd like to get traction from. And then the kind of the caveat to that is they spend too much time copying their competitors or being worried about what their competitor is doing, as if we really know what that competitor is really seeing on the back end. So a lot of people copy the funnel, or they copy the page, or they copy the style, or they copy the layout, or they copy the videos. And that isn't always the best practice. You have to stay authentic to your brand. But here's another example of what you can do. If ChatGPT knows the competitor, and I will tell you that you're going to need to use a large name competitor. And this is where it gets a little tough. If you give it a small competitor, ChatGPT won't know who they are. If you give it too big of a name competitor that is very, very public, it's going to give you a strategy that's probably not something you would want to be able to do because you don't have the same budget. So just kind of keep in mind and play with that one a little bit as you play around with it. And then the third option, or third example, are content suggestions. This is one that we use all the time. We used to have to spend a lot of time, energy, and money researching, number one, what keywords do we want this business's brand to rank for? Number two, where do we have an opportunity that our client can fit in competitively against a client that might be bigger, which is almost always the problem we have to solve. Almost every customer who comes to us is starting here, and their customer's already been in the game for 5, 10, or 15 years online. Doesn't mean they're better than them in servicing the product, or they even sell something different. But so we kind of always have to work through this. But then the question is let's talk about topics. How do we brainstorm some of these topics based on previously identified keywords? Can you suggest some content topics? Now, you might get more specific and say social media topics. You might put blog topics. You might put landing page topics. So you can play with that any way you see fit. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to read out a way that I think about prompting, just to share this as you guys get started with that. You guys can go ahead and get started. I'm just going to give you some thoughts about how I think about prompting, and one that I came up with for that specific. Did I come up with one for that one? So here's a content one here. This is more about social media, but it is about traffic. And I just want you to hear this really quick as you're doing your work, and how detailed I got with this prompt. Hey, ChatGPT, I'm getting started with social media marketing on Instagram, and I have an optimized content strategy and posting plan. But I'm trying to reach entrepreneurs who have been running their business for over 10 years, but they feel stuck and frustrated with their marketing because they're not very technical and struggle with digital marketing, social media marketing, and content. Can you build for me a 30-day content marketing plan of posting to make sure that I'm showing up regularly in their newsfeed? Please break this down in a table format with the day of the week, topic, type of posts like image, reel, story, carousel, recommended times, and even suggested hashtags. Here was the piece to the back end. That's a very rich request. Then I said, if you have any questions about this task before executing, please ask me. So that's way beyond a one sentence prompt. But I'm saying if for any reason you don't understand any of these, ask me some questions. One of the best things you can do with ChatGPT before you ask it to execute is to ask it to ask you questions for clarity. Okay? Hit the subscribe button so you can become a part of the MindShift community. We'll help you shift your mind so you can shift your results.